All right, everybody, sound check 1 2. Sound check 1 2. Everybody hear me loud and clear. Sound check. Everybody hear me all right? All right, perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and delve into what we got here. Let's start with Bitcoin. And I'm pulling this up on a 4-hour chart, right? Since we've obviously had the huge move, and now we're just kind of consolidating in a base, right? Getting ready for the next move. I still feel this is bullish, despite what some people, and still seeing some calls of 3,000, 5,000, etc. And as I stated, I think they can get that out of their heads, or keep dreaming. Anyway, what I'm expecting, and I'll pull up a futures chart. Let me do that real quick because that's got where the gap is. Let me go ahead and pull that up. This is the CME futures. And I'm going to go ahead and just zoom in a little bit. Let me shrink this up so we can see down at the bottom there. There we go. There's the dates and everything. We still have this big, long downtrend line right here, which we pierced through the other night, right? So, still, hang on, let me change the pointer here. It's not really, every time I switch to a black chart, it does that. Let me change that just real quick. That way everybody will be able to see it better. There we go. Okay. So again, we got the long downtrend line. We, tested, couldn't get through, and finally pierced through it, and then broke back below it, right? Because our Bollinger Bands right here, which I've got highlighted, we got way outside of, right? Got too far ahead of ourselves. And so we're pulling back inside. And the thing I like is that we're retesting the 50 EMA right there. And so as long as that can hold, and our gap area is like real close, and it came close today, and I'll zoom in and show you, but we came within about 100 sats of it, right? Or close to. I think the low was, what is this, 90.60. Gap is at 88.85. And it still could possibly get there. It could just like wick down in there and fill it, and maybe even come back and test the 10 or the 20. But these are hooking up. Right now it's testing and succeeding on the 50 EMA right here in yellow, okay? And our squeeze indicator is long, okay? So, again, I think right now is the time where dips should be bought. Okay, dips should be bought. I think this is just a matter of time before this downtrend line gets broken. If it doesn't, then we've got some problems. All right? So that's what I've got. This right here is just creeping upwards, right? So we could get a little bit of a dip and then go back up. So this is pretty normal, seeing this pull back in. Pretty normal. And could still have another day or two of it, right? So don't expect moonshot right now, but who knows? Maybe by maybe this weekend we might see some fireworks out of it. So let's just see what happens there. Anyway, that's the futures, and sorry about the sniffles, but I still cannot shake this cold. Going back to the 4-hour, and I'm going to change the pointer focus again, so I can have y'all see what I'm pointing at. Go back to black. All right. Okay, again, on a 4-hour chart, big move and just consolidating, right? Nothing sexy about it, nothing glamorous, not big moonshots and whatnot. We can't go straight up, right? We all know that. We're not going straight up. So let's get that out of our heads. Let's let it just do its thing and consolidate. And it's right here in nice, tight Bollinger Bands. Just let it consolidate for a little bit, and it may drift back down, maybe to that gap area I was talking about, right? And that would be the 50 EMA on the Coinbase exchange, right here. Okay, it would also be the 50% retrace. Could even possibly wick down into here. I'm not expecting a big drop down there, but maybe a retest of the 200 and 233 could be in the offing. We'll see. That's at 8,500. But this just has all the makings of something that is just consolidating before the next move. And we've got massive overhead resistance up in here that needs to be watched. I think once this breaks, then she's probably off to the races and it'll be hard to catch up. So anyway, glad to have everybody in here. Let's go into the daily chart on the Coinbase exchange and see what we got. And this is a very positive move, right? You know, breaking below the 200 and the 233 was probably, some people were thinking disastrous, right? I like the rebound and the reversal candle off of it. That's huge. That getting back above those, and now if it can retest and hold those, then obviously we can go up here and start taking on this 11,000 area. And we do have a gap on the futures chart at around 11. Let me look at it. There it is, 11,795, right? So there is a gap, and it's right there, right? Right there. There's a gap. 11,795 that still has to be filled. So, you know, just consolidating in this area, and then we'll see if we can get another, you know, when it's ready, 500, 600, 700 point pop, come up and test this area. Maybe if it gets Momo going behind it, then break it and come up here and fill that gap, and then we'll take it from there, right? I'm not going to sit here and say that it's going to go straight up to 20,000 or, you know, anything like that, but let's just take it a day at a time, you know. Obviously, just take your profits along the way. But now is the time, in my opinion, to be buying the dips. Any questions? All right. I'm going to give it like a few seconds because I know there's a delay on here, so I'll give it a few seconds if you guys have questions. All right. So let's go ahead and move on. Let's go look at Litecoin. And Litecoin, very similar to Bitcoin, right? Two are pretty much hand in hand with each other. Big resistance here. Hey, Masked Ninja, how you doing? Welcome aboard. Big resistance right here, just because you had this low over here, and that's turned into resistance now, right? So need to get above 60, let's call it 63 to 64, for Litecoin to be able to take off and be, you know, pretty bullish, right? I mean, it looks good right in here, but to get really bullish about things, let's get above 63 to 64, and then we can start talking about maybe coming up and testing the 200 and 233 day moving average. Slow and steady. Ethereum. Okay, I'm not in love with this daily stick right here. That looks like a bearish engulfing. If it closes that way, At the very least, it's probably going to be a dark cloud cover on the candlestick patterns. So that portends to, a little bit more downside before she's ready to turn. So let's just keep an eye on that. It still had the strong reversal, bullish reversal back here, but it could, come back and pull with inside that green stick, a little bit. We just don't want to see it break below that for obvious reasons. So it would be very nice if it could hold 178. Okay. Be nice if it could hold that area. Let's just do a fib retracement on it real quick and see if anything lines up here. All right, so we've broken the 23.6, and I'm gonna call it with my eyeballs. Barely broke below the 38.2, but I'm not gonna call it a breach of it just yet. Still holding on to that area. Could come down here to 176 at the 50% retracement, which, as y'all know me, I don't think the 50% is like huge by any means. I'm more of a 38.2 or 61.8 guy, and 78.6 obviously. So those are the main ones. But that's something to watch, resistance at the upper Bollinger Band right there. So we'll see what happens. Do I think that Wales might be following the CME moving averages more than other exchanges in May's? Given at the pump. I think things are more controlled through the futures charts. But what are those guys going to do on the weekends? They can't control it on the weekends. And so that's why you get your pumps more or less on the weekends, or dumps, just depending. But I know everybody's got conspiracy theories about, everybody controlling this or that. And I just tend to look at the patterns. I try not to get too much into that, because if I start getting into all that stuff, then it takes away my focus, right? If I was to get into a trade, I'm always going to be sitting there going, oh God, there's a whale that's going to dump on me or whatever, so I try not to get into that too much. I'm sure there's probably somebody that's got tons of money that's, that can affect the market one way or the other, and they may have their reasons for buying or selling, but I don't know them. I have no clue who they are. That could be the government. It could be 2 or 3 people, but I don't know. And if I spend all my time trying to figure that out, then it takes away from me trying to make you guys money and me make money. Does that make sense? So don't sit there and just think, conspiracy this and conspiracy that all the time. I'm sure there's somebody that, like I said, that has more than, anybody else does, and if they dump into it, they dump into it. There's not much we can do about it. So all we can do is look at the chart patterns and try to see what, what's going on. And there's clues to chart patterns. It's been that way since the 1800s. So, let's just try to stick to that, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so that's Ethereum. Let's go look at... Do y'all have any specific charts y'all want to look at? Or do y'all just want to hear me babble? Because I can babble pretty good. Or does anybody have any questions about fib clusters, moving averages, Fibonacci, retracements, anything like that? Yep. Okay, so I'll babble. All right. So anyway, let's, and I think, was it, let's go look at the weekly real quick. Oh, ADA. But you'll take the babbling. Okay. Yes, I will do ZRX as well. That's one I still hold. ADA. Do you want, Kevin, do you want the Bitcoin pair or the USD pair? And so when you guys ask if you want to chart on something, just, if you would please just specify whether you want the USD pair or the Bitcoin pair. Okay, USD. Let's go look at it. I know the USD pairs took a hit today. And I'm sure that's only because Bitcoin was down, so obviously the other pair would go higher. All right, I think it's been a while since I've updated this chart, so you'll get to see me do it live. I'm going to get rid of that line right there. It obviously broke above this 50% retracement, so let's start going in and cleaning up some fib retracements. Take out the 50, take out the 61.8. And you can see that its top was the, wherever this, okay, I drew this from down here to here on this fib retracement. And it lined up at the 127.2, which it hit, and now it's backed off of that. So, and price was way outside the Bollinger Band, so no wonder it pulled back in, right? Yeah, pulled way back in. This one could consolidate for a little while. We've still got, and here's one thing I like to do. I mean, see a lot of wicks in here, right? A lot of wicks, up, down, and that can take your focus away from what's really going on. So when I see something like that, I tend to switch from candles to line, right? And there we go. That cleans it up a little bit, right? So I can kind of see what's going on now. So while this right here looks like a, it made a higher high, or at least on a closing basis, but we can also do this. We can go, let's just take our horizontal ray and let's go over here on a closing basis and just go over to this low right here and throw that in. And you see what happens? We need a close. We need a daily close above that close. So that's going to be like 0.04476, something like that. You want to close above this line. And that, I think, will get things going. But right now you see a lot of, and I'll switch it back to candles. See, this can throw your focus off. You're sitting there looking at all these wicks, and it's hard to tell pattern-wise what's really going on because you're focused so much in on the wicks, right? And that's why when you switch over to a line chart, you can see it a little bit cleaner, a little bit better, and that's based on closing prices. Okay? So still closing above the 10 and the 20 EMAs. And of course the closing price up here hit the upper Bollinger Band. So anyway, we'll see what happens. I mean, it's kind of toppy on the stochastic RSI, so maybe it drops down a little bit. And let's see if it can hold in this little area right in here. I'd kind of like to see it hold. Let's say 4 cents, or just a little bit below. Let's see if it can hold there. If it can, I think that's a good spot, and then you could get this thing possibly, going higher. So anyway, that's ADA. That candle pattern right there. We're not closed yet, right? We still have a little bit of time to go, but that's a bearish engulfing. So let's keep that in mind. It needs follow through to be, to be legit, but that's just kind of giving you a warning sign that it could drop a little lower. Okay. All right. Frigidaire. Let's see. RE fib levels. When charting on the log scale, is there a particular use for enabling fib levels based on log scale? I just use log scale all the time. I don't, that's what I use. I use log scale. I don't switch back and forth to anything else. I just try to keep it simple. Just trying to keep it simple. ZRX. Let's go look at this one. I know I got it over here. Okay, so here's ZRX, and let me make sure I've got my fib retracements right. Yeah, I think that's pretty close. On the fib retracement itself, there's an option to fib. Oh, you can. Yeah, you can. I again, to me, I try not to get too technical with things. I mean, I know there's options for this and that, but I just pretty much stick to kind of like the defaults of things. I try not to change them up too much. All right, ZRX. So we hit the top at the 78.6, right? And that's obviously a very major fib retracement area, and it's pulled back hard off of it. We've come all the way back down to, and I think we did break the 38.2, so let me get that out of there. Let's change our settings, get the 38.2 out. All right, so our next level is, at least on fibs, is the 50% retracement, but you can see where it's at right in here. It's got the 200 and the 233 day moving average right there together, 50 hooking up, and we're right there at the lower Bollinger Band. So if you're looking to buy back into ZRX, I would be looking, very close to this area. I would prefer 20, probably upper 25 cents area. Just a hair below 26. I think that's probably your ideal area, but that's splitting hairs. That's kind of splitting hairs. And then I would play this as I don't know that I would play it so much as a like full on like going to the moon type thing. But I think it would be one of those things where you could do like my trading plan. Right? If you followed my trading plan, you got out, took some profits, kept some, then you've still got some, right? Now you could add back to what you sold for profit back in here and just rinse and repeat. You don't have to hold on to it forever, but let's just assume that down in here is going to be your bottom. And I hate assuming because it could go lower, but let's change our settings and let's get the 38.2 on there. You could buy it here and sell it back at 29 or 30 cents and then keep what you already have. Just, that's the little scalp trade you could play. But I'm going to take that out of there because we haven't hit a known bottom yet. So it could still go a little bit lower. What I'll do, here's what I'll do. I haven't done this yet. So this retracement that I drew was from this low to this high. Okay? So now what am I going to do? I'm going to go over and go, okay, well, let's check out another low, this one, and let's go up to this high. Let's see if we got a fib cluster, right? And so I'm going to change the settings and clean it up a little bit. Let's get out the 38.2, which it broke. And so lo and behold, we've got a fib cluster right down in here at 0.246. So could it spike down there, wick, or whatever, and then turn? It sure can. But you got the 10 and the 20. The 10's crossed through the 20, trying to cross. Hang on one second. I think I see something I don't like. Let's see here. Yeah, something looks kind of funky on my chart here, and I don't know why. That's the 10. the 20? Oh. That's on that. There we go. Let's get that out of there. That's why. There we go. Okay, much better. That middle line on the Bollinger Band was in there. But anyway, you've got your 10 threatening to cross your 20, okay? So that's going to be resistance on the way back up. And that's why I say if you do get back into it, that's going to be the first area that's going to be tested and probably just won't blow right through it, right? So if you're, in this area trying to buy back in right at the lower Bollinger Band, if it can hold that and then turn back up, then you're in good shape. If not, then we're going to see the lower Bollinger Band start to hook and turn back down, and then this gets ugly. But stochastic RSI is down here oversold. It's been that way for the past week. So one would expect that this thing will try to reverse at some point. Oh, yeah, by the way, yeah, thanks, Mast. I'd appreciate that, guys. If you would, just hit the like button or, hit that bell. That would sure help me out a lot. I appreciate it. Thank you. That would help me out a bunch. Okay, so that's ZRX. I think I pointed out and did a chart on XRP last night as well. I know this is a cult favorite for a lot of people. I don't hate XRP. I don't know, I just chart it. That's all I do. But you got, the 127.2 and the 200 and the 233-day moving average is just above it right here. Not to mention this previous high. So that's why I'm not all too fired up about just going all in on something like this. Not at the highs, right? This would be more of a breakout play. You would almost want to see it make sure it gets through that. And if you see the momentum getting through that, then you can buy in real quick and then take your profits fairly quickly. Because if it breaks this, then it's going to make a quick spike up, right? It's probably not just going to go, 32 and then stop. If it breaks through that, it's probably going to go right up to 40. So you'll have some time. I just hate trying to buy something into major resistance right here. That looks creepy to me. So, the moving averages, they're all going up. I like that part of it. I do. But you got the big ones hanging here right above it. And that's been a problem here recently. So let's just see how it reacts. Let's kind of watch it. And again, we've got a potential, and I say potential, bearish engulfing candle. So not trying to scare anybody off from it, but I'd rather be playing it on the safe side on this one. That just looks, it looks decent, but it just, something reeks a little bit. I can't put my finger on it, but something reeks a little bit. Okay, let's look at Bitcoin dominance. And this is the one that really, when you're looking at stuff, when this goes up, Bitcoin goes up, and vice versa. So the other day I talked about this. I was like, right down in this area, if it holds this, as long as it holds this, it could just keep running, right? Could just go on to the next fib retracement level. So let's just keep an eye on that one. That 5-wave correction thing that I posted a while back has come to fruition, and now you get the big spike up, little retracement down. Is it going to make the next move up? That's what we're watching. We are overbought right here. Another thing to watch. Big volume right there. All right, what else do we got? Oh, here we go. So I'll point out, like, I'm not always right. Yeah, I'm not. I was thinking that DGB by Halloween could be right up in here at 125. Well, I missed that one by 20 sats, right? I absolutely missed that. That was, just, it got killed right there. Whenever Bitcoin made its move, this thing just did the opposite, which is, I get it, it's the Bitcoin pair, but man, did that thing just fall off a cliff. So that was a bad call on my part. Obviously didn't get to 125. So didn't get there. Let's check in on EOS. Haven't updated this, I don't think, in a few days. Let's go look. All right, so it did break the 50, and then it got killed at the, I say killed, it got stopped at the 61.8 retracement. And it's also putting in a bearish engulfing, or trying to. So we're seeing some things that, and let's go look at Bitcoin. I don't think Bitcoin's doing that. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it is. Had a bearish engulfing here, and then it's followed up with this. So the pattern on this has been bearish engulfing, green stick, lower close. Bearish engulfing. Now do we get a green stick and another lower close? That's going to be what's to watch for tomorrow. Right? That's going to be what's going to be to watch for tomorrow. I mean, it tested the 200-day moving average today, right there. And we got our 10-20 coming up. So maybe it pulls back in here and we fill the gap, and then we can run. Let's see. Mast, 200-day and CME gap is all that matters to me. Yeah. No, there's nothing wrong with that. No, you're right on. You're absolutely right on. I mean, I would much prefer that gap get filled like sooner than later. Let's just get it out of the way. Let's get it out of our system and move on. And this pattern right here, I mean, I'm not going to call that really a bull flag or a bull pennant, but that just looks real corrective, right? I mean, just sideways action, up, down, up, down, up, down. That's real corrective coming back inside of the Bollinger Bands, which, we talked about the day that Bitcoin made that move. What did I tell you guys? I told you, do not FOMO into this. Don't. And I hope to God nobody was up here buying at 10,500 thinking it was going to go to 20. I was trying to warn you guys. We did it live. We were live in channel, and I was sitting there saying, do not FOMO into this. And here we are. We're back inside the Bollinger Bands. Okay, and we're just retesting some stuff. I mean, nice move, but we're retesting. We're getting back inside the Bollinger Bands, and it could, in all reality, it could just stay this way for the next week or so. It could just be real boring. But my guess and my feeling is that we're either going up and dragging this upper Bollinger Band with us to go retest up here, or we pull back in, fill the gap, and then we go up. To me, we're going up, right? That's path of least resistance. Resistance right now is we're going up. It's just a matter of if we dip down first, fill the gap and go up, or do we come right in here and hold the 200 and go up. So let's see what happens. Any other charts to look at? I know there's some other cult favorites out there. I hope everybody got out of DOG when I told them to. Told you guys to take some profits back in here. We were buying back in here, you know, in this area, and it made that move, and then we hopefully everybody got out right up in here when I was telling you to get out. So nice move on that one. BAT. BAT. Looks similar to, well, I don't know. No, it really doesn't. I think BAT could be one of those that probably not like, not tomorrow, not even maybe by this weekend. Well, maybe Saturday, Sunday-ish, somewhere in there. BAT could be one to watch. So keep an eye on that. Saturday to Sunday, somewhere in there. If it can hold that 50-day moving average, that would be huge for BAT. Okay? And why do I say that? I mean, let's go look at it. Here's your 50-day moving average, right? Right there. See how price drove it down? Can't go all the way back because price data wasn't that long. But anyway, it drove it down here. And then once it got above, it held it. And then the minute it breaks below and starts turning down, then it becomes a resistance. Now that price has broken above and now it's holding it, this is going to be your key area on BAT, your 50-day moving average. Right there. 21 cents. So if you're in BAT, you want to see it hold 21 cents, period. And let's call it just a hair under that, maybe 20. Let's just go ahead and call it, 20 and a half cents. You want to see it hold that area and then just keep this thing going up, and then take out the 200 and the 233 and just keep marching forward. And it's not going to be like a rocket ship, but it still has fib cluster resistance up in here, so just chew through it. BNB. Let's go look at BNB. Let's see if I have... There we go. It's been a long time since I looked at BNB. Okay, so this uptrend line obviously got broken. Let's go zoom in and look and see what's happened now. And this is a typical pattern of something that can happen with trend lines. Once they break below, you're usually going to see a retest of that trend line, right? To see if it can get back inside of it. It got rejected there. It got rejected here. Now you almost want to take that trend line out, right? Because it couldn't get above it, right? So that's what I'm doing. I'm taking that trend line out. It's gone. And now I did this fib retracement from back in September, and it held the 127.2, and that was a nice bounce, and now it came back and it retested it and it bounced. So now what are we going to do? Let's go over here and do some upside retracements. And let's just go with the big one, right? Let's just take out this. Okay, and let's just start over. I'm going to take a fib retracement from this high, and if some people want to call that the all-time low on BNB, then let's just see where it lines up. And I know it hasn't passed the 23.6, so there's that, there's that, there's that. I'm going to throw in those. Okay, so that's one retracement, right? So let's go do this. I'm going to zoom in so I can see it better, right? And let's take this high to this low. Okay. And let's go settings. Let's clear out everything that it's passed through. 38.2, 50, 61.8. And where is it stopping at on this move? It's stopping at the 78.6, right? There's your resistance. You also have, from there to there, you have a fib cluster. So if it does break that, then it comes up here. And that's going to be resistance. Okay? Let's not stop there. Let's go look at other ones. Let's go look at that high to this low. Again, what we're looking at is for clusters of areas that line up on top of each other, right? So let's put a 61.8. Let's put a 50. And let's put a 38.2. And I'm not seeing anything line up there, okay? Nothing lines up as far as that fib retracement, but we're going to leave it in there because that could be a valid area. But right now, you've got, and it's pretty wide, but this area right in here, and I'm going to put my, let's just do a rectangle. Okay, let's just do this. If I can get it on there. Okay, rectangle. Ah, stupid thing. Ah, it's not going to let me do it. All right. Let's just try an ellipse, maybe. Nah. Okay, can't do it. Anyway, this area right in here, okay, is going to be your area to watch. What is that? 0.0024 right there. That's where 3 Fibonacci numbers line up. They're pretty close to each other. That's going to be your area of resistance. Yeah, magnet tool, exactly. Evil magnet tool. But does that make sense? Do you see where I'm pointing to? Right in here? That's your area to break through. Yeah, that's the area to get through. And if it does, then it probably comes up and maybe test the 61.8, which by that time, because it's not going to just go straight up, right? But by that time, the 200 and the 233 are going to be hooking down and should be around the 61.8 retracement over time. It's kind of what I'm thinking. Anyway, that is BNB. Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure. What about Link? Has anybody been following Link lately? Let's take a look at it. Wow. I posted this a while back. Looks like this little selling zone that I had in here is pretty legit. Obviously, the reaction off that is it does not like that area whatsoever. So, boy, it's such a fun one to play, though. You know what I mean? It's like when it gets into a zone or area that you could buy it and just it's going to pump or something. The 202 33-day moving averages are climbing. So now our major support zone, right back here, 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 this just keeps climbing, right? It just keeps climbing until something changes. And then, of course, you got this old area of resistance that is now support. So it's getting closer to that. Let's go up here and see where it's at fib retracement wise. Let's do this. All right, so it's broken through the 38.2 and hasn't quite got to the 50 yet. So, yeah, we'll see. The 50 EMA is right there, close to the lower Bollinger Band. But this area right in here, what is this? Am I seeing? Hang on. That little area right there. Everybody see that? Something about this area right here at, what is that, 27,297? I'm saying, or 27,297. Something about that area right there, it bounced off that pretty hard. And so we saw what happened right there after it hit that low. If it goes below that, then there may be a bunch of stops that get hit, and this thing could just drop right down into here. So if you wanted to play it, it's a major risk, but your reward could be pretty good too, knowing how Link goes. I think for me, and if it was me, I would probably just stay on the sidelines for right now. I mean, I would want to make sure that holds. Just want to make sure, because it keeps testing there. It could just crater right through it. So I would want to make sure that holds. That's just me. I don't like the, I don't know. I don't like the setup on it. It just looks weird. What's another one? NEO? Wow. Okay. So here's our oddball of the day. Is there some sort of news on NEO, or is this just a pump? Almost everything else is kind of down, but this one's moving. That's interesting. Have not done a fib retracement on this one, so let's do it. And let's go down to that low right there. Ah, okay. All right, so the 61.8 was the high on this, from that last high to this low. So it made it up to that. All right, and then let's just see if, God, was it the 23.6 that was actually the, nope, it actually, oh yeah, because it was such a big move. Pulled back to the 61.8 again. All right, so this one's in between 61.8s. The resistance and the support. Price outside of Bollinger Band testing the 200 right now. And 233 is right above it at the 61.8. So, wow. Okay. Yeah, we'll see what happens. It was one of the Chinese. Oh, okay. That makes sense. Okay, Chinese coin. Yeah, all right. That makes sense. All right. Does any guys, y'all have any other charts you want me to look at? I think I've gone over the majors. Do you want me to go over any how I do fib clusters, how I do my retracements, anything like that? While you're thinking about that, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I am back. Okay, any questions? Any charts? Or do y'all just want me to continue to babble? Otherwise, I'll just keep going through some other different charts and stuff. Let's see. What else do we got? Let's go over to... There's ETC, which I like. Okay, I'll just babble on. So you guys know that, I mean, for whatever reason, I'm just a big fan of ETC. It's not like I own a ton of it or anything like that, but it's one that's always intrigued me. And so, here it is. Had a low here, and then now it's a resistance. So if it can break back above 5, then it looks like it's going to be a pretty good one. And I like how these moving averages right here, the EMAs are all kind of, might be that maybe it can get enough juice going that it might be able to come up and test back up in here again. Right? I'm a big fan of things going back and testing the 200 and 233 day moving averages. So we'll see. Anyway, that's that. Wonder what happened to my XRP chart. Did it just get delisted or something? It's the only chart that's not showing up now. Really weird. And let me refresh that. It's probably a glitch on TradingView. It's not a glitch on TradingView. So what's going on with XRP, guys? Anything? Is there any news out there? For whatever reason, I cannot pull the chart up no more. Or at least not on Coinbase. Let's try another one. How about Bitfinex? Yeah, there it is. All right, so it's probably just some glitch on Coinbase. All right, so I will delete that. Oh, really? Okay, so it's a glitch on Coinbase then. That's what it is. All right. except for Bitcoin, which I still get Bitcoin on Coinbase. Weird. Really strange. Okay. No worries. Let's see. SPND. Somebody asked me about that one the other day, and I put it on my watch list. And I think when they asked me, I pretty much told them to not buy right up in here. That I thought that the prime area to buy would be down in here, probably around 50 sats or whatever. So it's there. You know, had the nice move here. And here we go again with, I am not an Elliott wave expert by no means, but I do understand the concepts of it. So one of the things that, if I understand it right, corrections come in 5 waves, right? Or I know you have an ABC correction, but there's also like some 5-wave corrections, like where a 5-wave could turn into an A wave or whatnot. Well, let's just go look at this on SPND. And I find this rather interesting, and it's one that if you're wanting to play it, I think it kind of gives you the, you know, the idea of how to play it. So let's just say that there's your first wave. There's your second. You have an impulse move for 3, and I think that's pretty obvious, right? If that's your wave 4, that's your area to get in, right? And so let's just do this. We know, okay, by Elliott wave rules, that wave 4 cannot violate wave 1. Right? So let's do this. Horizontal ray. Well, guess what? It didn't violate it. Okay? Wave 1, wave 2, the correction wave. 3, your impulse wave. That looks kind of a pretty impulsive for a 4 wave, so I'm not like, you know, that's where some Elliott wave guys would be like, no, that's too impulsive for a 4 wave, because a 4 wave should be more corrective, I think. And then it takes off for a more impulsive 5 to finish it out. But I'm just throwing that out there. You know, I'm not saying that's what it is, but I just find that pattern pretty interesting that, you know, it held that area and didn't violate it. Not to mention that it's a, you know, previous resistance area, and now it holds as support. So if you're playing SPND, that would have been a pretty salty move on the bounce, right? Pretty salty move on the bounce. I'll leave that in there. Who knows? We'll see what happens. If this thing goes to, that 5 is probably too generous. Let's bring it back down in here and maybe say it finishes up around 38.2 or, you know, somewhere in there. Or it could just retrace 50% of the move. And then that takes it up to 110, which, yeah. Hey, William, how you doing? We are getting the party started. Just going over some charts. Let's see. So that's SPND. And disclaimer, I do not own SPND. Okay, just so you know. I do not own it, like, trading-wise. 222. What else do we got? Vet. I think there's been some people that have talked about Vet before. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, interesting. Interesting. It made a new low back in here at 35. That would have been a hell of a buy. And I don't know where I was. Look how price got outside the Bollinger Band and held that previous low. I mean, you could have just, it's pretty much this simple, right? You know, you put in your support zone right there, double bottom, and then price comes up, gets outside the Bollinger Band, and you pretty much know, right? You pretty much have to get this in your mind. And I know it's probably people panic when they see price do this, but if you've got Bollinger Bands and you've got something as simple as just drawing that horizontal ray where it made that double bottom, you could have been buying, hell, you could have been buying at 39, you know, laddering in your position, 39, 37, 35. And then all of a sudden, boom, it reverses. Knowing that if it breaks this area down here, that's where you get out, right? It's not like you go 100% all in, like right in here. You just ladder yourself in a little bit, piece by piece, and that way, if it makes that move, you're not out of it, right? You're in it. But when price gets below that lower Bollinger Band or above it, that's when you buy, that's when you sell. Does that make sense? I hope everybody understands what I'm talking about when price is outside of the Bollinger Bands. This is a good example on this chart, right? Outside. Outside. Hit the lower Bollinger Band. It's outside. I'm selling right here. Or I buy here and I sell here. You know, this middle area is kind of like no man's land. It's like consolidation, gets tight. Once it starts getting tight, that's when you can start expecting a move. And if it's holding support like it did here, the 10, the 20, you could get a little bit of a pop, right? But then it turns right back down, goes outside. You got your support. You just have to put all the pieces to the puzzle together, and it's not a big puzzle, it's a small one. Small puzzle. I just wish I had enough time to look at all these every day. Now I'm just going to make fun here, but if you guys wanted to donate enough money to me, I'd be here all day long. Okay, so let's go to Atom. Let's look at ATOM. Let me get that. I don't know what this thing does. I have it on my watch list for whatever reason. So it broke the 78.6, broke that. Oops, let's see. Leave that on there. It broke this 127.2, hit the 161.8 and rejected. It just looks like a, oh man, that like a longer term kind of, it looks some sort of wedge maybe. Let's do this. Let's do array, and let's do this. Yeah, that doesn't really line up, and I hate doing that. Funky kind of pattern. That's obviously a V bottom, right? And for people that don't know V bottoms, you can go Google it, but they're pretty powerful, right? So let's just go on here and do array, and I'll just show you what I'm talking about. it's like this. Oops, here like this. Darned magnet tool again is bugging the crap out of me. All right. Anyway, down, up. Right in here. Down, up. Could it be a bigger V? It's obviously kind of hit this area of resistance. So that bull move could be over. What I'm watching on this one now, and this is very big for anybody that's long, watch the 10 and your 20 EMAs, right? You're at the lower Bollinger Band. Watch your 10 and your 20. Price came outside the Bollinger Band right here. Now let's do some fib retracements on this one. This will be fun. And get to see me do this live, right? Okay, so let's go fib retracements. And let's just see if we got more important support somewhere. All right, we're going to take it from that low to this high, because we pretty much know that's a high right now. 50, let's throw in the 38.2. Yeah, I don't know if I want to leave. I'll leave that 38.2 in there. Why not? I mean, it did kind of breach it a little bit, but it bounced off. I'm going to leave that there. And then let's go up here and do another one from this low to this high. And then we're going to clean it up a little bit. Let's take out whatever it's broken. 38.2. And it has not broke the 50 yet. Okay, and then we're going to do this. Actually, I think I already did. Okay, I did that. So I'm not seeing anything that really like lines up right on top of each other. So this is one of those where I kind of go, okay, well, I don't see any obvious, they're right on top of each other things where it's like major support, two fibs line up on top of each other. This is one of those you just kind of step away, you know, and that's what I do. If I don't see an obvious area where I'm going to go, okay, that looks like very strong support or very strong resistance, then I'm just going to step away. All right? Just going to back away. And actually, I think I can get rid of that 38.2 on that right there. There we go. So we'll back away from that one. You know, that's kind of a no play, kind of just stay away for now and just see what happens. And that's the beauty of the crypto market, guys, is that don't focus in on just one. There are so many plays out there. And I will say this, I'll actually go back and correct myself. I'll correct myself. When I say don't focus on one, that's actually kind of a misnomer. I've known people that trade stocks for a living, right? But they'll only trade one stock because they know it so well that they know the ins and the outs. They know the support, the resistance. They know the angles. They know the patterns. They know what it does at earnings time. And that's all they do. And people make a good living at doing that. So when I say don't just trade one, that's kind of a mistake on my part. The only problem with that is that when you do that, you could get into a pattern where it's like doing nothing. It could go sideways for weeks, and then you're stuck. You're not making money. But if there's one out there that's your favorite, then follow it. You know, keep track of it. You know, if you know the patterns and you know what it's doing, you could actually sit there and say, hey, it's in a sideways pattern. I'll come back and check on it in a week or so, or a couple of days. But you're not going to sit there and just look at it all day long. You know, there's plenty of other things that are setting up that you could play. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's take a look at Matic. I know this is another one that was... God, we talked about this one too, and I totally missed this one. Went sideways again, like I talked about. This thing went sideways for, what is this? A month? A little over a month in this Bollinger Band, just tight. And then finally broke out, which I missed, by the way. It's the only crappy thing about day jobs. Anyway, so now what it's doing. Let's just do some fibs on it. And we can actually get rid of, I think I did this one to see where it might go. Yeah, I did. All right, so I'm going to get rid of that. And let's just do some fibs on it, see if there's anything that lines up here. Let's go this low to this high. And we can kind of see where it bounced a little bit. Right there at the 61.8. You know, minor bounce. But then we can also do something like this. Is we can go with a horizontal ray. And let's just go back to where it bounced previously and what might be resistance. This area. Right? So I'm going to go over here and change my colors on it. And I'm going to make that red since that is resistance. So see that? Made this high, came down, made a bottom, and bounced right there. It bounced up into here. So I'm going to put a horizontal ray and see how it bounced off of it a couple of times and then made that nice little move. Now it broke below it. So that's going to be resistance. Okay? That's going to be resistance now. Then let's draw on another fib. So I did the one from here to here. Now let's go do from this low to this high. Okay, let's see if anything pops up or lines up. Is that 50? Nope. Let's take out the 61.8. And we will take out the 78.6. Okay. Or do we? Let's see. Nope. We'll leave the 78.6 on there. And let's throw on a 127.2. And we'll take out that 161.8 because it's not going to 0 or less than 0. Okay, so not really seeing anything that just sticks out. Again, these are kind of far apart. That's 130 to 139, so that's not like right on top of each other. But this area is of some support, you know. 78.6 and 61.8, those are good fib numbers for support. So we'll leave those in there. And not only that, but this is an area back in here where obviously it went sideways for a while and people were accumulating. So this area right in here is big support. If it's going to make another move, it's going to have to do it fairly quickly. But coming up, that's your resistance. Okay. And then we could also do this. Right? We could do the resistance fib. And let's see where it got rejected at. And it got rejected at the 38.2. So there's your resistance. Huge. Fibs and old support new resistance or vice versa. They work like magic, guys. So if you're buying Matic, that's your area to get through. Right there, period. 162. All right, so that's Matic. Any other chart requests? Or do you want me to just keep babbling? I think I went over EOS. Let's see what else we got out there. I've tried to type in as many symbols that I've heard of or know of in here, and I'm sure I'm probably missing a few. Let's look at Telcoin. This is the one that a buddy of mine told me about a while back, and I mentioned it a while back too. But it's just, look at this. It's holding within this wedge area, and it slightly broke below, but then it came back inside, right? And this is one of those that it's a sub penny, sub whatever, but this is one of those that on a percentage basis could make a move, make you a little bit of money. But it's one of those that obviously needs to hold that area right there. And then you got support down here. But holding this, breaking back inside that wedge is pretty impressive. Still has the EMAs to deal with right in here. But again, one of those that got outside the Bollinger Bands and then popped back inside. So if there's one thing I'm going to keep harping on and drilling on that you guys hopefully understand is the Bollinger Bands. Price broke way outside and then now it's back inside. So price does not like to stay outside of Bollinger Bands very long. What else? I think he mentioned Wabi to me once. Oh, wow. Okay. That's a nice move. That's very impressive. Let's see what we got resistance-wise on this one. So right up in here. Let me move that over. I think it was right there. There we go. Okay. So Wabi could still come up and test 2242, but you're buying into some resistance. The only thing that I mean, look at the EMAs. That's impressive. I mean, price is way outside of Bollinger Bands, and we all know what that means, right? So there we go. This is one of those that you would almost want to see, you know, and it's very possible it could come up into here, but then it's going to come right back inside the Bollinger Bands. It could be one of those ones that rides the upper Bollinger Band up. You know what I'm saying? That's a nice looking cup formation right there, by the way. See that? Here, 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 here. It's a nice cupping formation. But at some point, that cup turns into a handle and then it takes off. So that's going to be on the watch list for sure. That's a nice one. I would not be buying it just right now. Let's go on to Theta. Ooh. Doesn't like the 200-day moving average, that's for sure. Didn't like it back here. And doesn't like it right there. Okay. I think that's pretty obvious. Didn't like it right there. Doesn't like it right here. So give this a little bit more time. Golly. It's not making any... It made higher highs over in here, but it hasn't broke these highs. So Theta is one of those that once it does break the 200-day moving average, then you can start thinking about going long, right? Just not sure that I'd be all too fired up about buying it right now. It's got good support right here. But it's just kind of going in a range, so to speak. Just ranging. But then again, we saw Wabi do that too. It's a different chart pattern. It's not so much of a rounding bottom. This has just been like drop up and then just going sideways right here with little ups and downs. I mean, this could very easily just fall off a cliff, or it could just break right through, but it'll take time. It'll take some time. Mitch, how you doing, buddy? What are your Bollinger Band values set at? So I just go off the default, right? So when I throw them in there, I just, whatever the indicator has it at, that's what I got it at. Just a default setting. I keep it simple. But if you want to see what they're at, I don't know what charting system you're using, but I'll highlight on it. There we go. And I'll just put up my settings. And there's the inputs. Just so you can see them. The only thing I do different is I take out when you go to style, I take out the basis, right? Which is like your middle line. It's like a 20-day moving average, so to speak, or it's real close to it. And I take that out of there just because it gets so close to my 20 that it's hard for me to tell what's the 20 and what's not. I mean, obviously I can do my colors and things like that, but I just like to keep my EMAs in there where I know where they're at and I don't have to guess and all that good stuff. All right, let's see. What else do we got? XLM. I haven't seen that one in a while. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. See, I like the KISS. I call it the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. Which I can be from time to time, and that's why I keep it simple, because I'm stupid. Let's see here. XLM. Oh my God. Oh, that is such an ugly reversal pattern right there. That is just the total opposite of what Bitcoin did back then on that day. That is just ugly. That just, hate seeing that. XLM's, from what I heard, it's pretty nice coin, but that's ugly. Ugh. So, and not only that, shooting star right here, red stick. This could have some more downside. I'm staying away. What else do we got? TRX. There we go. I haven't seen that one in a while. Good old Tron. Oh, and here's something I want to point out, guys. So when you're looking at candlestick patterns, you know, and it's hard, even for me sometimes, I get caught up in like just the three candle setup from time to time. But then I have to remember and stick it in my brain is that it's the day after that counts. It's called follow-up. Well, you can see right here that Tron had, look at this. It had the reversal pattern right here, green stick, doji, red stick. Just completely engulfed that green stick. So I'm sure everybody's thinking this thing's going to crater. But then what happens is that you get this big green stick right after that inside of it. That gives you pause, and that's not follow through. That is not follow through. So that's where it can get kind of tricky. What can get tricky is this right up in here. So we've got 1, 2, 3 sticks, right? 3 sticks like this, and that's called 3 white soldiers. 3 white soldiers. Normally, 3 white soldiers will retrace 61.8% of the move. So let's just see what we got of that pattern, right? So Tron could actually come all the way back down into here. TRX. Come back to 202. It could come all the way back to 202 And at the minimum, it could, what, 209 is your area? So this, and not only that, you got a bearish engulfing at outside the upper Bollinger Band. So that gives me pause. I do not buy into that, right? And I'm telling you guys, do not buy into that. We kind of saw something similar back here. Price got outside, green stick, and then it took off. This thing could do the total opposite. And I don't know what's been going on with it lately. I don't follow the news on Tron. But was it a pump? But that's all I know is the pattern. That's 3 white candles or 3 white soldiers. And that pattern usually reverses back down to 61.8 to 50%, somewhere in this area before it bounces. So if you're wanting to play this, just make sure that you're playing it in this area. That's your buy zone. Okay? That's your buy zone. And if you miss it, you miss it. All right? If it takes off and goes from here, then you missed it. There's nothing wrong with that. There's hundreds of other coins. So don't FOMO. Just sit there and trust what you know, your patterns, and what they do. Not only that, but your fib retracement, your 20 EMA is coming up in here to the 61.8. Everything lines up for a move down to this area, or so we assume, and that's how we would want to play it. Then you take your trade, put your stop loss below it, maybe even below the 50 EMA, which is down here, acting as support now. And then, as it moves up and people play the bounce, or if they go long and playing it longer term and you get bigger money coming into it, then you start selling right into that. You sell into it along the way up. Okay? I may actually put a call out on TRX. I may actually do that. May actually put a call out on that one. Let's see. What else do we got? ONT. Okay, let's see where it bounced off of today. It had to bounce off some sort of fib level. Let's get that out of the way. 38.250. All right, so the 61.8 is holding up as support. And the 20 EMA, 10 EMA, 50 hooking up. ONT actually doesn't look too bad. Still have 200-day moving average resistance right here. It doesn't look horrible. With practical observations like 3 white soldiers pattern use. It's from my experience. I think if you go and look at like textbook stuff, it'll say 50%. It'll retrace 50% of those candles, but I tend to see it move to 61.8. So that's why I'm saying anywhere between 50% and 61.8, that's your buy zone. So between those two fibs. But I've seen the 3 white soldiers come all the way to the 61.8 before they turn. Does that make sense? Guys, you got me for a little bit longer here, and then I'll have to watch the World Series. I'm pretty pumped. I want Houston to win. Do not like the Nationals. Let's see. Oh, you're welcome. Frigidaire. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. Well, the low count. I mean, I'm sure there's probably some things I could do on my feet. Oh, well, for instance, see, here's something I always forget. You know, I'm like, today's the 30th, right? I forget to put that in the deal there. So there's some things I could do. I'm sure that where I could attract people or viewers, and you know, we'll see how it goes. I want to just try to spread the word and help you guys out. And if you guys spread the word and that hit the like button, that helps out a bunch, you know. Let's see. White Soldiers. They're playing out BTC. Let me take a look. You know, I don't know that I would call that a 3 White Soldiers. I mean, although that stick, I just like seeing on 3 White Soldiers. Excuse me. I like seeing the green sticks be fairly close in length to each other. You know what I'm saying? I mean, technically, you could say that is. But I just don't. I don't know. It doesn't look like 3 White Soldiers to me. I could be wrong. I would prefer if they were all like in the same kind of length of each other. You know what I'm saying? So you see on Bitcoin right here, you got this huge one, then you got this one which is less big, and then you got this one which is less big than that one. And they're really not even close. So I'm not sure that I would throw it into that same camp. If we was to go back to, let's TRX. And let's just throw it on there. Let's see how that, I mean, that one's a little bit bigger, but they're almost identical in length. Right? That's what catches my eye. It's not like one big green stick and then this one's a little bit less. That one's a little bit less. These are all almost identical. Almost. Close enough. That's what I watch for. But then again, this is crypto, and yeah, we all know crypto. Everything's a little bit different in the crypto markets. One thing I will point out, for those of you that watch in my Discord channel, the S&P 500. All right, there we go. And I would have to go back and look at the date for sure. Let me get my pointer focus changed. There we go. I'm going to change the color just so you can see where I'm pointing at. All right, there we go. So the S&P 500, I know a lot of people were really bearish back in here and here. A lot of people were calling for a crash. They're going to impeach the president. Economy sucks, blah, blah, blah. I was not in that camp. I was calling for new highs. And we got them yesterday. We got them follow through today. I said last night that it's very possible that this thing could run up to, what is this? The S&P 3148, 3147, before it finally just, I think after that, it probably makes a really hard drop from there. Not saying that you can just kind of see. I mean, the bars, the light blue bars usually last about they're anywhere between 8 and 10 bars, right? Sometimes if it gets extreme, you could go to 10 or 12. Well, we're getting kind of extreme right here. We're a little toppy right here. I'm wondering if we get some sort of blow off top up in this area. I'm not saying we can't get all the way up here. We can. We can just stay overbought and get up here. But now that we've broken new highs, I'm wondering if there's going to be some people that might get trapped up in here. I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me. But we did get the new highs. And so now I can take out the 127.2. And I can also do this. Let's just see. Yeah, very possible. I mean, again, you know, there's a lot of. Let me do a fib retracement on this, and I'll continue my thought on this. I have a lot of thoughts on what I think would happen, just based on previous experience. Okay, so there we go, and let's go ahead and take that out, that out, that out. Oops, that out. That, and that. Okay, so we're hitting another 127.2 retracement, it looks like. Let me just zoom in on that a little bit, if I can. Let's see. I'll have to get this screen changed up a little bit. There we go. All right. So 3067. I don't see any fib clusters just yet. 3067 is your next area on S&P. And it's very possible. Yeah, I mean, we could make a Christmas rally up to 3100. You know, to me, and I'm gonna, you know, I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way. I don't know what your political, and I hate getting political about stuff. I really do. So, guys, don't hate me for it. But I think what they're doing to this president is absolutely the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm 53 years old. I've been through and seen a lot of stuff. Now, granted, the guy he's a smart businessman. He doesn't always say the right things. I wish he would just quit tweeting so much, and the way he says things kind of bothers me. But what he's done, he's trying to help this country. He's trying. And he's getting nothing but resistance from all the insiders in Washington that are, you know, they're lobbyists. They're getting, you know, there is no wonder we're not getting, you know, for me, I think, you know, the amount we pay for prescriptions and medical costs is ridiculous. And the only reason prices are so high is because insurance companies and etc. are in the back pockets of politicians. And that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to clear that crap out. But he's getting resistance, and these people don't like it. All right? I think their world is getting ready to, as far as the Democrats, I think their world is getting ready to cave in the next, you know, couple of weeks or so. I think they're actually going to get called out. But the only problem with that is that, you know, the news, most of the news, there's probably 3/4 of the news is all liberal, right? So they're just going to keep slamming this guy and slamming him. I mean, this guy, like, you know, I watch Sean Hannity from time to time, and he made a good point the other night. He said this guy could cure cancer, and they would still find a reason why, you know, he's bad. And it's true. It really is. I mean, for 3 years, this guy has had no help. Zero. Trying to get his stuff done. All he's met with is resistance. And right now they're trying to impeach this guy before the truth comes out. That's all they're doing. They're trying to impeach this guy before the truth comes out, and they're going to get slammed. And so that could be obviously, do you think for a moment that this market would be in rally mode if he was going to get impeached? No. If this guy was going to get impeached, we would have been seeing, and I think you saw it back in here when news came out and maybe some other news or whatever. Right now what's going on is they're like, okay, this guy's not getting impeached. Screw that. This market's going higher. Everything's good. Unemployment's low. It's crazy. So that's why I was always calling for new highs. I just didn't believe that whole impeachment crap that was going on back in here. And I get it. I know that the Fed has been pumping a lot of money into the system right now. And that's one thing that does have me worried. There's a lot of indicators out there that point to us coming to a top, right? There are indicators. It's just a matter of whether it's here or is it up here. We're getting close to a top, guys. We're getting close to at least a top where we're not going to see it tested again for probably a year, right? It might be a mini recession, but we're getting very, very close. And it's a shame because Democrats and Republicans can't work together. That's what really sucks. I agree, William. Yeah, and I think that down the road, that's going to be a major player. I think, you saw China. They're going to their own digital currency. It seems like they're way ahead of the game, where we're just, and I hate to say this, but it's almost like our country, our government does not want anybody to succeed. They just want to keep the middle class under wraps. It's like, we don't want those guys to be millionaires because, let's face it, the more millionaires you have, then what do you think's going to happen? Then those guys that are in Congress and whatever, we could start paying our own lobbyists. Hey, I want you to go to Washington. I want you to change this. I want you to change that. I'm a big believer in term limits. I think these guys ought to be on term limits. You go serve 2 years. I'll throw it out there. I'll say 4 years. 2 years is a little bit short. I would say you serve 4 years and that's it. You're out of there. Go. You're gone. I'll give you 4 years to go up there and change stuff. And if you don't change it, then you're out of there. I mean, you're gone regardless. Term limits. Just get the hell out of Washington. These people have been there for 20 and 30 years, like Pelosi. I mean, come on. Even Mitch McConnell on the Republican side. Give me a break. Just get out of there. Go. You haven't done crap. Your ideas are nothing. You're just collecting a check, collecting money from special interests. Just get the hell out. Anyway, that's enough of my rant. Sorry, didn't mean to go into politics. But I think it plays into what we're seeing these days in the market. So, and God help us if Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders is president. I'm just saying. God help us. And I'll tell you that from experience as well. That's just God help us. Hey, Hop, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. I really do. Thank you so much. That means a lot. It really does. Love hearing positive comments, and it just keeps me going. When you guys like what I'm doing, it just keeps me going. All right. Let's see. What else is going on? Anything? Litecoin still just everything's just kind of meandering here. It's not going to be really exciting for the next couple of days, I don't think. So we'll just kind of keep an eye on things. No red alerts, no yellow alerts. We're just kind of stuck. Maybe I already covered it. Bitcoin. Oh, Bitcoin Cash. I have not. Hop, let me take a look at it. I have not. Mast. Boy, I hope not. I hope not. I really do. I hope it doesn't. I mean, I don't see how that would be, gosh, I don't know. I would just rather them create like what am I trying to think of? I'm drawing a blank. Not a fund, but you know what I'm talking about. ETF. Maybe like an ETF. You know what I'm saying? Where grandma and grandpa could throw their money into an ETF and say, okay, that's my long-term deal. Futures, as we talked about, I'm not a conspiracy guy, but futures can be manipulated. They can, easily. Bitcoin Cash. Okay, so I would not be buying this right now. In fact, if you're in it, I'm not going to say get out of it. But I'm also going to say don't be surprised if Bitcoin Cash pulls back. And why do I say that? We went over this earlier, but what happens when price gets outside the Bollinger Bands? It pulls back in. Now, this one is actually riding the upper Bollinger Band, right? And so that's acting as support, the upper Bollinger Band is, but it's not sustainable for long periods of time. Okay? It's not. But if you're in it, I'm not going to sit there and say get out of it because it's had a pretty big drop today. And, it could hold this and then rally back a little bit. And not only that, but you're at the 200 and the 233 EMAs. Let me do some fib retracements on it real quick. And I would almost guess that this area right over here, let me change my pointer focus again, where you can see where I'm pointing at. Okay, so let's see. My guess is going to be that that's probably going to be close to the 78.6. And I have not done a fib retracement on it now, but just from eyeballing it, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Let's see. Did you guys see that? I didn't do a fib retracement on it before, but that's just how my eyeballs work. That's where it stopped. 78.6. So let's take out the 61.8. Okay. And what was this down here? I do not know. Let's get rid of that. There we go. But that was your fib retracement, 78.6. Actually, it might have actually lined up right on it perfectly. I think I missed. Let me just do this. I think this was the low over here. I think this low was lower. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So right in there, when you see 233, 233-day moving average and a 78.6 fib retracement, are you going to buy into that? I think we can see why it, and if I scroll in, I think we can see why it rejected hard off that area, right? Not to mention that price is outside the Bollinger Band. Okay? So I'm not a big fan of buying it right in this area. You know, let's let it come back in. What I would like to see is it go down, not hard, but just pull back inside a little bit and let the 10 and the 20 EMAs catch up, and then let the 50 curl around, and then who knows, maybe by Thanksgiving this thing is going up and breaking through the 200 and 233-day moving average. Right? Let's just let it catch up a little bit. It's not like, you know, I wouldn't, if it was me, although if I was holding it, sure, you want to see it break and go to the moon, but technical wise, for longer term strength of this, you want to see this just go sideways after it makes the correction. Just go up, you know, correct back in, and then just steady climb. These moves like this are nothing but inviting shorts, and that just creates buying pressure. But that just invites more people to go, wait a second, that's not how this should go. Let's see. Thanks for covering that. Regards to my primary TA, what do you regard as your order? Okay. So let's do this. So I look at, you know, when I first pull up a chart, and I'll just go to Bitcoin, for example, what really pops in my mind, right? And yes, I do use patterns. Yeah, I do. But what comes into my mind, and that's what I was going to go into, is I sit there and I look at something and I go, okay, am I seeing anything obvious in here, right? If I'm looking at it in a longer term view, what looks obvious about this to me, right? And so right in here, I would be going, okay, well, I see a big, huge move over here, but then I see a little choppy to down, right? That's a short-term bearish, but look at that move right over there, right? And so now I'm thinking, okay, now let's start throwing fibs on this, right? Fibonacci. Let's start throwing Fibonacci numbers on this and see where support's going to be. And so when I made the call that I did the other night, I saw this area right down in here, okay, at 7,200. And I was like, okay, I knew that this area right here was holding. And I was like, but it has to get down here. It has to just creep down to it or do something to scare the crap out of people and then turn. And that's why I made the call I did. I thought it's going to do that, come down, test that fib cluster. And you can see it's dark, right? There was 2 or 3 lined up on each other, 2 of them, almost identical. And that's very strong. And so I thought, okay, it's going to hit that and then take off. So now I want to go look at moving averages. Am I above the 10? Am I above the 50? Am I above, you know, a lot of times the 50 EMA is going to be a key player in a lot of things, right? Longer term wise, as well as your 200 and 233. But your intermediate term is going to be your 50, right? Once something breaks above the 50, then you're going to count on that as being your intermediate long-term, you know, so like the next 3 to 6 months. So that's your area now, right? Because look back here. For a long time, the 50 EMA was nothing but resistance, 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 and then all of a sudden it breaks above it. It took a few months, it took 3 months, but once it broke above and then it held it, then you can start going higher. All right? Start going higher. Now, once you get too far above the 200 or the 233, and I posted this a long time ago, and I think guys that are in my channel can attest to this, is that way back when price was up in here, I was telling them, I said, guys, price will come back and test the 200 and the 233. We're not going to just go straight up from here. Is there a chance? Sure there is. But percentage wise, you're going to go back and test the longer term moving averages, 200, 233. And this is over 6 months, right? Or actually longer. Yeah, 6 months probably. So that's kind of my thinking and process of how I do this stuff. I know that right now we're right there. We're right on the 200 and the 233, the 50, the 10, the 20. They're all bunched up together, right? And so we could actually just go sideways for a little bit, let the Bollinger Bands tighten up even more, and then by Thanksgiving, we're rocketing back up higher. Tesla. No, I can do it. Yeah, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second real quick. I use the restroom real quick. All right, I am back. Let's see. Let's go to pull this up. Let's see. Tesla. Let me change my cursor again. Hang on. Change it over to yellow. All right, there we go. All right, so let's pull up Tesla TSLA. Okay, so obviously I had done this one probably, God, who knows how long. All this crap has got to be. I'm just going to get a clean chart. Let's remove all this. I think I probably did this like years ago. Let's see. Okay, and so your question, you wanted to know. Okay, Mast, I appreciate it, buddy. All right, so you want to know how you break it down. Okay. All right, so let's just take a look at it real quick. These numbers that you're seeing down here, okay, right here where I'm moving my mouse over, is when earnings are reported, okay? That's when earnings are reported. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is like, okay, well, we had this nice big move. What happened, right? Well, one thing when I'm going back and looking at it, I can see back in here, and we talked about this earlier, V bottoms, right? When you see like a steep decline like this, and then the opposite effect, that's bullish, right? So that's your first clue. So people that saw the retrace, and let's just do a retrace on it. I'm going to go zoom in so you can see it better. I know it probably doesn't look, it's probably hard to see. There we go. Let's do here. And lo and behold, let's take that out, take that out, take that out, and take that out. Held the 61.8. Right? So V bottom, right there, very, very well defined V bottom. You had a gap, but price retraced all the way back to the 61.8. Hit the lower Bollinger Band, and that's kind of what gave it its springboard. You also had down here. All right, so you had your squeeze indicator, which, you know, when you see like I talk about these red bars, I mean, that's people that are shorting, okay? Shorting. The first inkling that you get of a yellow histogram after a red one is that bears are losing momentum. And it's the opposite the other way, right? It's not always perfect, but it's one of those that you want to watch, right? Because it's like they're losing their momentum and things turn bullish. And so here we go. We're staying go light blue, darker blue, which gives you pause, right? Things go sideways, but then it goes light blue again because things turn back bullish. Now you go back here and your squeeze goes flat. It goes short, it goes into correction mode, but then bears are not as strong as they were back here, right? See that? They're not as strong as what they were. Volume was tapering off. It's almost like you're inkling that something's going on. Not to mention that your slow stochastic was way down here, right? Oversold for, 2 months, maybe, a month and a half. Oversold for a month and a half. And the histogram was nowhere near what was on this violent move to the downside. That was a lot of volume coming in. Then lower volume brought this down, but it's holding the 61.8. And so the minute it starts to move off that, that's when you start to get in. And if you're wanting to scalp it, obviously what we said about being above the Bollinger Bands, what happens? See right here? Outside the Bollinger Band, pulls back in and drops. Now your lower Bollinger Band becomes support. And now your moving averages are starting to line up a little bit. It gives them time. And then you can get your spike. So now what are we watching for? Right? Let's go take a look. So we had this doji right up here. That's indecision. Had that doji. Indecision. Had a red stick getting back inside the Bollinger Band, right? We had 2 days after, and I'm sure some news, and I don't know what news it was that came out. I'm sorry, I don't follow Tesla all the time. But there had to be news, right? Because now what do you have? And this is just something to watch for, right? And this is almost easy, right? I would not be long this. But I'm just telling you, this is almost too easy. You've got a gap. And let's go ahead and just edit this. And let's make this real thick. And let's change we'll leave it red. All right, so you got a gap right there at the high was 264.78, okay? Where the gap started from is your gap support. And this is what a lot of people don't always understand. But I'm going to throw that on there. And I'm going to change the color on that to green. All right. So here's what we got. And this is just how I think things are going to play out. And I'm going to do some fib retraces on this, and we'll see where things line up at. Okay, and I have not done this chart. You guys know I have not looked at it previously. Obviously, I had to take all that other stuff out. Let's go this low to this high. So we're testing the 23.6 right now, which I don't think is going to hold whatsoever. I mean, it might bounce, you know what I'm saying? It might bounce in there somewhere, but I don't think it's going to hold. Because we had all this blow off volume right in here, so there's a lot of chumps that are getting in right here at the top. This is going to pull back inside, and I think your next support is going to be at the 38.2, which what lines up with where? Gap support. So if you wanted to play this, if it was me, I would wait until it gets down to gap support, and you could possibly play this bounce, because I think over time, and you have to almost look into the future in your mind a little bit, right? And this is where moving averages, when you're looking at them, you go, okay, where is this moving average going to be in the next day or two? You know, you're almost trying to envision price, but you're also envisioning where the moving average might be. Okay? So we know that this 10 EMA is hooking up. That's going to be support, right? It's going to be short-term support. If it bounces off that, fine. You know, it's going to bounce and it'll go up a little bit. But I think it eventually is going to test the 20 EMA. So where's the 20 EMA going to be at in the next few days, right? It's going to be probably up here, and then you're going to have a confluence, right? You're going to have gap support, 38.2, and the 20 EMA. That might lead to a bigger bounce. But over time and down the line, it doesn't have to happen tomorrow, doesn't have to happen next month. It could happen, I mean, let's just go back and look at this, for example, right? Look back here where Tesla gapped, right? Had this move up, and then it gapped down, right? See that? Gapped down. It went sideways, and it took from, what, July 31st to, oh, actually, it's longer than that. It took July 31st until, yeah, here we go. Until, a few days ago, October. That's 3 months before it filled the gap. So just because you see a gap, it doesn't mean it has to fill it right then and right now, or in the next day, the next week. It could be 3 months down the road, just like here. And the same goes for this gap. It may be 3 months before this gap is filled. This thing could just go in, hit right here, bounce, and go into Christmas mode, and then all of a sudden by the start of the new year, it comes down and it fills the gap. And that's just how I look at things. I mean, I look at these Bollinger Bands, how wide apart they are. And in my mind, I'm sitting there thinking, if I go back in time, how many times has this thing, like the Bollinger Bands, got that far apart? Aha. Back in here. And what happened? There was no gaps, right? But price went a little bit higher after it retraced, but then it came back down and things got tighter, right? So let's go back over and look at this. And don't you think in your mind that price, it's not a totally bearish chart, right? I mean, it's very bullish right now. Very bullish. But I'm just saying that I'm not like totally in love with this thing for like going, a lot higher. I could be wrong. I mean, let's go look at the weekly chart. I mean, it's probably going to look messy because of all those lines, but let's just look at it anyway. Yeah, there we go. And if you was one of those Elliott wave guys, what would you be thinking? You got a 1, 2, and then a 1, 2, 3 impulse wave, 3. And don't you think you might get a corrective move down for 4? And could it possibly come back over here and just not violate that? I mean, it could just possibly wick it. And a lot of Elliott wavers might say, oh, that could be wave 4, and then it goes on to new highs. So don't just be buying this move after the percentage gain that it's made. Let it pull back inside, and then you could play it for the longer term. I mean, if it just goes parabolic, then that's just inviting shorts to kill it. We saw that with Bitcoin, 20,000. We saw what kind of drop we got there. So you don't want to necessarily see this thing go parabolic. So I hope that helps. Okay, so that's Tesla. I use on cryptos. I don't other than, and really I don't know much about the white paper on stuff. I don't know. I really don't know fundamentals on any crypto stuff. I really don't. I'm just being honest. No, I think I've told people that. I just go off the charts. I just don't have the time, really, to be able to go in and look at that stuff. And not only that, but I will post this in the channel. This is probably one of my favorite books, right? And if you ever have time, it's probably pretty darn cheap to buy too, but Message of the Markets by Ron Insana. All right. So Message of the Markets by Ron Insana was probably one of the best books I've ever read. And it's so true, right? Because if you think about it, don't you think that people probably know what's going to happen in the future of their business, right? So let's say I'm the CEO of a company, or I'm the financial person, or I'm somebody on the inside. And if I see things aren't going really well, guess what I'm doing? I'm selling my stock, right? I'm going to just turn my request in. I'm selling my stock. And then that guy's going to go out and have a drink with somebody, probably somewhere in New York or whatever. And they're probably going to run into some guy that works for JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs. And guess what they're going to be doing? They're going to be like, hey, this guy over here told me that things aren't going really well over there. You're not going to hear about that on the mainstream news, right? But what's going to happen is your markets or your stock price is going to reflect what's going on. And then all of a sudden, when earnings come out, oh, wow. Man, this company missed their number. It got baked in prior to what was going on. It was happening. People are sitting there going, well, man, my company's doing really well, but the price is going down. Well, they were doing really well the previous quarter, and that's why price was going up. But this quarter, before we report earnings, price is going down, and that's kind of letting you know what's happening. You know, it's almost like, and I'll just tell you a quick story real quick. And I'm going to pull the chart up. And I can remember this like it was freaking yesterday. All right, so let's go to the SPX. And I'm going to go a long ways back here, guys. This shows my age, right? Let's go back to, well, I got to go back even further than this. Let's go back to 2000, I think it was, or no, it was 2001. Where was it? There we go. I think it was 2001. Yeah. Yeah. So back in here, and maybe it wasn't the SPX, maybe it was the NASDAQ I was doing. But anyway, when I was looking at the charts, I was sitting there thinking that the .com bubble had burst, right? It had burst. We knew that. It sucked. I lost a lot of money. But we were on the road to recovery, right? But every time this thing, and if I go look at actually it was a daily chart, so let me go daily. Yeah, it was always a daily chart I was looking at. Let's see. Well, I don't even know what year this pulled up. Let's see. Okay, well, anyway, I kept thinking to myself, I was like, you know what? Every time this thing tries to break out, it just keeps getting sold into. And in my mind, I was like, man, the numbers are recovering. The Fed's cutting rates. Things are getting better. But we kept getting sold into. And I was like, okay, this is making no sense whatsoever. And I was like, something's going on. It just had that sense that something was weird. And it wasn't too long after that we had 9/11. You know, the airplanes hitting the towers. And then it started to hit. You know, I was like, okay, well, you know, these guys that were the terrorists were actually shorting into the market and buying puts, you know, put options. And that was what was keeping the market. And so whenever the market dropped, they made a shit ton of money. And that's just how it works, right? It just, that's how it works. People know ahead of time what is going to happen. It does. And so you have to look for those clues on your chart to be able to, you know, look at it and say, okay, something's fishy here. Something's going on. And somebody knows, right? So, and let's go back to, let's go look at the Compex. Oops. Yeah, let's type this back in, see if it'll get me back where I need. So anyway, that was my thinking and thoughts and just how I look at things. You know, I look at them in an analytical way. You know, it's much the same with, like when I see the Fed, you know, they're dropping rates right now. They dropped them 1/4 point today. And it's almost one of those things that when you look at it, and I know they're under a lot of pressure from the president, but why are they dropping rates when the economy is so good? Why? You know, I'm sure, I mean, I know the president is pissed because China devalues their currency. They, they try to get every edge on us that they can. But at some point, this is just insanity. What else is going on out there that they're scared of? And I keep thinking about the next shoe to drop, and what is that going to be financial wise? I could point to a number of things. I mean, the housing market is almost like it was back in 2007. Nobody talks about this, but automobiles. And obviously I work in that industry. And I can tell you that when I talk to sales managers, they are the subprime market on these people buying cars. There are people buying cars on credit that have no right to be buying these cars on credit. They have crap credit, and yet if they have $500 cash in their pocket, they can throw that $500 and they can get a car, and they can try to pay interest and the payment over however long. So at some point, this whole thing is going to come crashing down. It's obviously it's been going on for quite a while, but at some point this thing's going to come crashing down, and banks are going to get crushed. They're going to get crushed. They're going to have to eat all this. But that's where the Fed comes in, and they print money, and at some point somebody calls in the note. Right? And China holds a lot of our debt. I'm just saying, guys. China holds a lot of our debt. And now there's talk about going to a 50-year bond. I mean, give me a break. That's just insane. Absolutely insane. And I'll give you guys somebody to follow on Twitter. This guy is really, really good. He knows his crap. Let me find him real quick. There he is. All right, so on Twitter, that guy right there, Northman Trader, he's really good, knows his stuff, has all the stats, and puts it really well. I mean, I think he's probably if I had to call him something, I would say he's probably leans a lot more bearish than he does bullish, but he puts a lot of facts out there, and I like looking at those. Just because he's bearish doesn't mean I can't play it to the upside, right? He can be wrong. I just look at the charts, and I know he does too, but he has a lot of good facts and stuff. Just something to keep in the back of your mind. So he's really good. People in the UK, they do, right? Yeah, it's absolutely insane, brother. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It's like somebody could have a 400 credit score and go in and put $500 down on something and walk out with a brand new car. It's like, really? And then all of a sudden these cars get repossessed. They come back, But the dealers don't care. I mean, because they get to keep the $500 that they put down. And then it falls back on the bank to try to go and collect it from the customer. And so you think about the millions of people that are doing that and how much money is tied up in that. And it really, really makes you wonder. It really does. let's see. So I changed. Let's see. I'm back over on Bitcoin now. Any other questions, guys? Any y'all? I mean, I'll keep babbling on. I mean, I'm just a babbling fool right now. That really kind of depends. I want to see. I really don't think that this impeachment thing is going to amount to much. But if it does, and if they somehow are able to do something that gets this guy impeached for what he's not done, then I think it's going to create a lot of civil unrest in this country, and it could just be like the worst of all outcomes. I don't think it will be. I think we'll actually, this is the optimist in me. You know, my girlfriend, she always calls me an optimist, but I just think somehow this thing's going to crash back on the Democrats and somehow pull the country together. But if it doesn't, we're in a lot of trouble. I mean, this could get nasty real quick. I mean, let me look at it's been a while let me look at a SPX weekly or monthly chart. Yeah. Oh my. Let's see. We got well. Ooh. Yeah, I think they do. I mean, I think we've proven that. You know, they do. You know, there's only so much money that can move a market, right? There's only, you know, it's all about supply and demand. If there's more people wanting to buy it and there's not enough sellers, then obviously price goes higher. So it's all supply and demand. So if somebody's out there holding a gajillion Bitcoin and there's only, 100,000 wanting to buy it, then I think price isn't really going to go anywhere. But if it's the opposite, then obviously price goes higher, right? It's just simple, supply and demand stuff. All right, so I'm going to switch back over to my SPX real quick because you want to know about possible crash or and so here's what I would point out, okay? And by the way, they're wanting to impeach this president when since he took over right back here, we've only made this kind of move in the market, right? So they're wanting to impeach the guy. Wow. The weekly or the monthly hasn't closed just yet. But if I scroll in, and here's the thing on my squeeze indicator, and I'm going to zoom in so you can see it, right? When you see red dots, we got the histograms, but you got red dots. That is like people that are like, it's not a true squeeze to the long side, right? That's just buying volume, but it's not totally convinced yet. But this month, we've got this. We've got a green dot with the histogram. So let's see what happens after tomorrow's close and see how this reacts, right? This could just be putting in some sort of hammer bottom, I'm not going to call that hanging man, because hanging mans usually have a smaller body to them. So this could push higher. And especially if what we think might happen about the Democrats and what they're doing comes true. We don't know that yet, right? Obviously. But the clues are, they're kind of like, in the 10, the 20 are strong. Every time this thing's tried to push lower, it can't. So, we'll see. Could be a blow off top. In other words, to answer your question, this could be the blow off top after this, right? And if we go look at the weekly, of course the weekly is not even close to closed yet. It is not giving any kind of signal on the squeeze indicator. No green, no green dots yet. But 1, 2, 3, 4 straight weeks of up. That's been a pretty good move. Okay? That's been a phenomenal move. And like I say, it could still go up to 31.50, 31.48 or whatever, before it makes any kind of meaningful retracement. But again, we are at the 127.2 right here. The bigger fib cluster is right up in this area. So we shall see what happens. All right. Any other questions, guys? I am getting ready to watch the World Series in a few. Actually, it's already on. But I'll hang around if you got any other questions. Alrighty. Well, all right, guys, with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. I will be back around tomorrow, so if you have questions, write them down. Any chart requests, write them down. I'll be back in here tomorrow, and we'll do... This is going to be back-to-back days of live streams. So just bring your questions and get ready for it, and we'll do the same thing tomorrow. All right, guys, I appreciate you guys. Please, if you like everything, hit the like button. Ring that little bell that's in there. Much appreciated. So you guys have a great evening, and we'll see you. I'll be around on Discord. I'm just going to be having the TV on so I can hear it. And if you have questions, I'll be in Discord. So have a good one, guys. Thanks.